this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? And the people answered him in this manner, saying, so shall it be done for the man who kills him. Now the king had promised that he's going to give him up to half of his kingdom. You give his daughter to him, great riches, and all of that. So when he heard that, the daughter, he was enticed. Even though the daughter ended up being a problem. All right, verse 28. Now Eliab, his oldest brother, heard when he spoke to the men. And Eliab's anger was aroused against David. And he said, why did you come down here? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your pride and the insolence of your heart, for you have come down to see the battle. David started crying. And David said, what have I done now? Is there not a cause? But he didn't stop. Verse 30. Then he turned from him toward another and said the same thing. And these people answered him as the first ones did. So he didn't stop. So this guy despised his father's sheep. He said, with whom have you left those few sheep? That means we are big boys. We face Goliaths. We don't sit with small sheep. He said, but who did you leave the few sheep with? So he commonized. These are things I've taught you over the years as lessons in leadership. He commonized the possession of his father, what his father had. And don't be like that. Don't say, my father didn't even go to university, but he sent you to university. You should appreciate him. Say, my mother didn't, her grammar is not so smooth. Be proud of her. Do videos with her. Post it online. Say, that's my mother. Because she labored over you. So this guy wasn't proud of his father's business. He'd rather be at the battlefront. And say, with whom have you left the few sheep? No wonder the Lord rejected him. Because the Lord needs somebody that would not see any sheep as few sheep. Anyone that would shepherd Israel must be someone that cares to the tiniest of details. Someone that celebrates the few sheep. That's why in Psalm 78, verse 70 to 72, Asaph now gives us the story of how God chose David from following the ewes that had the young to shepherding his people Israel. He said, and David shepherded them with the integrity of his heart, verse 72, and the skillfulness of his hands. So David was really into it. That's why when the lion came, if it had been Eliab would have said, well, take one at least. I'm generous today. But David fought the lion, fought the bear, and snapped back the sheep. So he was refused because of the state of his heart, because of his inward man, his inner life. So when Samuel saw a full-grown man, good stature, fitting for the throne, the Lord said, that's not how we choose. That's not what we used to decide. It is the state of the inward man that we used to decide. So the inner man was more important. So this shows you again that that's the core of a man's life. That's the core of the life of the man. You will begin to realize that it is a place where reasoning happens. So we can say the heart and the mind are together. Or we can say that the mind is in the heart. That will take us briefly to the mind, because I have to keep mentioning in and out like that. The word mind, there are a number of words for mind. But let's see the first one, Romans chapter 12. Romans 12, look at the word mind, and then we'll keep looking at the word heart, because we're going to look at the scriptures to establish what we began to learn on Wednesday. Romans 12, which you know very popularly. Romans 12, verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. Speaks about the body. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God, that you may prove what is acceptable, what is good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. So he describes the renewing of the mind. The mind, there is the word nous, N-O-U-S. And it refers to the faculty of perceiving, thinking, understanding. The faculty of thinking, understanding, perceiving, feeling, judging, determining. Thinking, perceiving, feeling, understanding, judging, and determining. It is the rational part of you. The rational part of you. Like your intellect, where you think. That's why I said a little bit of it goes on, or much of it, let me not say a little bit of it, much of it goes on in what we call our brains, our physical brains. That's why I said it's a little bit of the outward man too, or physical mind. So our minds, we can say, is connected to our brains, but it still cannot be seen. Or have you seen your brain before? Have you seen your brain before? But we have seen your brain. If you understand that, you can see people's brain many times by how they act, how they talk, how they think. So that's nous. So it's how you are able to consider a matter, how you are able to judge a case closely. You can think things through. Your thoughts are there. You also have feelings. They are the ones that inspire your feelings. Because you don't suddenly feel until information has passed through your mind. Are you following? We're still going to deal more with the mind. In fact, it's literally where we are going to be closing up everything. So your mind will feed on knowledge. Your mind needs knowledge to work, to survive, to be itself. So when the mind gets knowledge, it now processes knowledge through all these things we have said. It perceives it, it understands or misunderstands it, scrutinizes it, judges it, and now determines what to make out of it. So it is the making out of the knowledge you have is what now births emotions. It is what you now make out of the knowledge that comes to the mind that now births what you call your will. Your will is now what you will do. Your will is now what we can say the heart takes. You know, we said the heart is the final place, is the place where things are finalized. Whatever is finalized in the heart is what we now act out. So the process